Instagram too.
But I'm so not technology.
No, you don't need to. You don't need to be on Instagram. I just on Instagram because I started it on Instagram, and I direct people over because some people still haven't got the memo. Hey, yeah, some people still don't know that the full interview is on YouTube now, so that's why I do it on Instagram too, just to send people over. So, still familiar, Curly Top 101, still familiar. I'm assuming that's Nico. What's up, Glenn? Okay, I'm a little irritated because Glenn and Nico, y'all know that I do this interview series on YouTube. So head on over to YouTube. What's up, Seth? I just put the information. I'm going to pin it in the comments on Instagram. If you are on Instagram, head over to youtube.com/GOGOTIX. And you can see the other side of this conversation. Mike is much more handsome than I, so you probably want to see the other than just looking at my ugly face the whole time. What's up, DJ Lil Shirt? That is the best Instagram name I've ever heard. I hope you really perform under that name. That's so dope. Authentic Jenny, Rel, be coolin'. What's up? All you guys, do me a favor, please head over to youtube.com/GOGOTIX, and if you're over at YouTube right now, I'm gonna go ahead and run these little spots here real quick while Mike's getting ready. All right, bet. Okay, so welcome to Gogotalx, brought to you by GOGOTIX. Our guest today is the one and only Mike Bombz, aka Mike Bombz. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's cracking, man? I'm corny. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's all good. Corny is good. We want to entertain people, and I'm not very entertaining, so I'm glad you can pick up that slack for me. Again, if you're on Instagram, head over to youtube.com/GOGOTIX. You can see both sides of the conversation. Mike has a lot of good information to share today. So, Mike, why don't we just start off with sort of your history in music and, go-go and just the industry in general. Go slow, give as many details as you want. Take your time. And let us know your story, man.
All right, I'll try to make it as short and interesting as possible. But
it have to be short, man. We got a whole hour, and if we go over an hour, we're all good, man. The purpose of this is to get the information out, and so the purpose of this is to connect the dots between the go-go industry and how that works, and the greater music industry and how that works. And you started started in the go-go industry, but you were in the go-go industry, and now you're working with major label artists, and so details are important. So take your time.
Okay, well, this is definitely that story then.
Okay. All
right, and it's funny because you probably know some of the backstory. I want to say some names, you know what I'm saying, from early on. So all right, so long story short. Basically, all right, so I just turned 40 in June, right? I guess we're gonna start backwards.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Well, it's still June, right? Dang, that sounds crazy. I never thought I'd say 40. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy, but I still feel the same way as like if I was 20. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that being said, because there's kind of this unwritten rule that the age you get in the music industry is the age you get stuck at. You know what I'm saying? Like it's weird, but that's a whole other story. Long story short, my parents were in the military, and up until I was 14, I done lived like 4 different places. I lived overseas. I lived in North Carolina. I lived in South Carolina. Lived in New York. My family's originally from New York. That's important because New York has nothing to do with go-go, right? So
and it's also important because it provides some context of why you have the accent that you do, and you're
oh
on
yeah.
LA, and you're on a show about go-go because people talk like that.
Yeah, it's weird, right? So I don't consider myself a New Yorker, but my family is from New York. It's just, as an Army brat, you bounce all around and you just adapt to your environments.
Yep.
That being said, we moved to Maryland. I moved to Aberdeen first, right?
Mm-hmm.
If y'all know where Aberdeen is at, so for one, if y'all don't know, if we're talking to people that don't understand Maryland, right? Maryland is a state that is in between a whole bunch of other states, right? And depending on what part of Maryland you live at, it's going to mold your musical influence. So when I first moved to Maryland, I was north of Baltimore, like 30 minutes. So my first introduction to homegrown music was house music, Baltimore club music. You know, like Miss Tony, Percolator, what's up? You know,
drive me up the fucking wall. But I maybe appreciate it later in life, but I fucking hated it when it was out.
Yeah, nah. You know, it's funny because when I first moved to Maryland, I hated club music also. But where I lived at, just like, you know, you're impressionable. I was 12, 13. Even though you hate it, you kind of start to appreciate it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I lived in Maryland. I lived in Aberdeen, Maryland, which is 30 minutes north of Baltimore, 164 miles away from New York City, 30 miles away from Delaware. You know,
all the miles down.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, so I was all over the place. So up until that point, I was I was just doing what kids do. I was all about sports. Sports. Never played a keyboard. I play keyboard, by the way. Never played a keyboard. Never really knew anything about music except for what I learned in school. Because I did play the trumpet, but the trumpet was just something I did. It wasn't like I was trying to be Dizzy Gillespie. I didn't even practice, if that makes sense.
Right.
But I will say, it's important because I didn't know I had an ear, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought everybody just heard music the way I heard it. So, we'll come back to that. So that being said, being that my parents were in the military, we moved again. So my father was lucky enough. Usually when you move in the military, you move out the state, right? Yeah. My father was lucky enough that he was towards the end of his military career, so they just wanted to keep him in Maryland. So they moved him down to Fort Meade. So I moved to Fort Meade my 10th grade year. So I'm in Fort Meade. So now Fort Meade is south of Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? So about 20 minutes south of Baltimore, which puts it right in the Gogotalx zone between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. So for me, the influence now was you have a little bit of Baltimore club music, but there was also a pack of kids at the school I went to that liked this music called go-go music. So again, me being new to the area, I had no idea what go-go music was. At the time, it sounded like some pots and pans shit to me. You know what I'm saying? I really couldn't understand it. So I'm the new kid on the block, doing the high school thing. At that point, I think I quit band, but I was always still messing around with the keyboards and stuff like that. Like I had a little keyboard that at the house that I may play once every leap year or something like that. So just consolidating things. One day, I'm either skipping class or between lunch or something. I don't know, but
it's probably skipping class.
Yeah. I go inside the band room. The band room meaning the high school band room. Yeah. And there's a keyboard there, and I start just playing the blues, right? Like blah 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 blah, just messing around. You know what I'm saying? And this kid came up to me. We all know him as L Boogie, Larry Dennis. You know, he comes up to me and he was like, Hey, yo, you want to play in my go-go band? You play keyboards. You know what I'm saying? That's how you get recruited back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Known him for 2 seconds. And I'm like super green and super new to the area. I'm like, I didn't have nothing to do anyway. I'm like, yeah, what's go-go music? Man, all you got to do is play keyboards, right? So I'm like, well, shit, I'll play keyboards. You know what I'm saying? So
let me interrupt just for 1 second, just so everybody that knows, because you and I know who L Boogie is. For some people that are on here that don't know who L Boogie is the cousin of Wes Watkins, who you probably do know who's the drummer for the
Oh right, yeah.
And all these and Got My Own Sound and all that. L Boogie is his older cousin who was known as the beast as drummer in our area before Wes started developing his shop. But anyway, okay. So you met him for 2 seconds, and now you're in the band.
Yeah, now I'm in the band. So he's like, yo, come play this come on my band. So I'm like, yo, where you live at, right? I lived on base, or as I call it, post. He stayed in the outskirts of suburbia, as we know, you know what I'm saying? He stayed in, I guess, the hood of what's called where I live at, you know what I'm saying, Pioneer City. So he was like, yo, come down to Pioneer City. Yep. So he gave me an address. It's crazy. I think I rode my bike from Fort Meade to Pioneer City, and we had a rehearsal. And he taught me these 2 songs. This is how dumb I was. He taught me the song we had called "Off Top." You know what I'm saying? Basically, it was a knockoff version of "Rough It Off." You know what I'm saying, by Junkyard. You know what I'm saying? Instead of saying "rough it off," rough, they would do "off top," off top, right? So and along with other songs that I thought that he made up, like, but he was just basically just copying, you know what I'm saying, regular Gogo song. I never heard Gogo before, right? Right. So I'm like, man, this guy's a musical genius. So I do a rehearsal. Maybe like a week later, Larry makes his flyer on a piece of notebook paper. He just draws it. He draws the flyer with a man, Mr. Fatigues, and say house party at this house in Pioneer City. So we did this house party. Basically, it's the size of my apartment. We charged $1 per kid, and we made $152. And I don't know nothing about no PA. It was basically a drummer. This guy named Darnell played drums. Larry actually played congos. I played keyboards, and we had the most bootleg equipment. I don't even think we had a full set of congos. We had a pair of rototoms, actually Quints that Larry was using because he was still in pep band. You know what I'm saying? It was the most ghetto shit you ever seen. And we did a party, and and all I was doing was just playing the stuff they showed me. But the second I played, I was addicted. It was like, oh, this is fun. You know, this is fun. So just like anything else, like the sidebar is crazy because I tell kids all the time, like, you know, I got nieces and nephews. I work with kids, and I see kids around that age. They start really getting into music. They start getting out to us on the radio. It's weird because instead of me kind of getting into like all the current, you know, like digging into hip hop and R&B and stuff like that, I started digging into go-go. You know what I'm saying? So from that, I just wanted to learn everything. So my first band was called Slummy Youngins. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, what? Hold on. Well, first of all, let me interject for 1 second because I just want you to know that the whole fucking Untraceable band is on this video. So we got Joey on here.
Yeah, Joey, what up?
We got Nathaniel. We got Daniel. Mike Arnold's on here also. Mike Arnold did remind me that L Boogie played for Familiar Faces, which I totally forgot about actually. So maybe more people do know who L Boogie is than I remember. But he was always one of my favorite drummers, and also my very favorite plumber that used to come save me all the time.
Yeah. But hey, but you know what? Larry could smack though. He was the best.
Yeah,
he was one of the best
I forgot about that.
Yeah. He could smack, and it's funny because the reason I say that is like anybody that know Larry is like, we were super musical, right? So all right. So my first keyboard was like a Casio keyboard, right? I'm playing with the speakers on it. I had an elephant sound. I had a car horn sound, and that's the keyboard I used, right? So we're in Pioneer City. This is also where I met my production partner at the time, Aaron Bennett. Aaron was 2 years old. He was the same age as Larry, but Larry wanted to take an extra year in high school, like myself. So by the time but it's funny, Aaron was the original keyboard player, but Aaron played drums too. Cause like, it's kind of like at this time,
all y'all played drums and shit. What the fuck?
Yeah, we just did whatever. It was like nobody didn't have roles. I didn't understand that. You know what I'm saying? So it was just something I did. It got me at the house. I was down at Pioneer City playing, right? So maybe that's my first and second year of doing this, right? You know what I'm saying? So at this point, Larry is basically like my and I credit him to everything, man. Larry, that's my guy, man. Larry was like my guy through this go-go thing, right? So I remember I started dating this girl, so I started knowing about these different bands. So and it's funny how I just finished watching Game of Thrones. You know what I'm saying? So you know how everybody have. If you don't know what Game of Thrones, everybody has the house. You know what I'm saying? There was the house of Junkyard. There's the house of Northeast. There's the house of Backyard. So Larry was an avid Backyard fan. I ain't know nothing about no Backyard. You know what I'm saying? I ain't know nothing about no Northeast, but he was like, "Yo, let's go do a show one day." So I'm not saying I didn't understand, right? But I think the first time we I'm in high school, and Larry was like, "Yo, Larry was one of the first dudes I know driving." We went down to the Icebox. So this is the Icebox in its prime. You know, we went on I want to say a Saturday night. I'm talking about 400, 500 kids. You know what I'm saying? Rah, sitting on top of the speaker with a cut-off shirt like this. You know what I'm saying? Back then,
you went to see Northeast or you went to see Backyard?
We went to see Northeast. I haven't seen back. Like it's still super fresh to me because I wanted to know what a real show looked like. Right. So I went down there and I seen that. I was like, oh, the energy was just crazy. You know what I'm saying?
You remember what year this was?
This had to be maybe 95 or 96.
Way before I was there. Okay.
Yeah, 95 or 96. So
okay.
So we're still doing the Slum and Youngin thing, just like kids follow their interests. So I wish Mo was online. So one day that we get a phone call that was like, "Yo, this other band want to hear y'all play." So we go back. So this is how I got introduced to the Annapolis scene. I go where Mo lives in Crofton. We go back to his house and we do like a little battle on his porch. Ate him up. You know what I'm saying? So still didn't really know too much, but long story short, Mo band was breaking up, and our Pioneer City band kind of dissolved.
What was the name of Mo's band?
At the time, it was.
Murdoch is on here right now. No, that's not. Huh? You talking about Go-Go Mo? Which Mo you talking about?
Oh, Murdoch, Roll Murdoch.
Oh yeah, he's on here. Yeah, he's on here. Yeah, he's on here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You saying Mo, and I'm thinking you talking about our artist Mo. That's why I thought.
Oh yeah. Nah, him too. We play with him, man. We go deep. You know what I'm saying? So
right. Yeah, that Mo is on here. That Mo is on here.
Nice. So we ate Mo up, and somehow I can't remember the name of his band, but
he said, "Man, go ahead." He said, "Y'all ain't."
put a hole in him, right? So long story short, we put a hole in them so bad that they asked us to come join their band because they wanted some of that. They wanted some of that sauce. You know what I'm saying? So we joined bands, and the band we joined was called Delinquent Youngins.
I remember that.
Yeah, so that was my first band with kind of people knowing, like, you know, kind of knowing the roles and stuff. And at this point now, I'm still learning about, you know, how this stuff works. So Larry on drums, a guy named Trent on conga.
I just need to interrupt and say that I'm extremely surprised that the band named Slum and Youngins did not become successful. This is a big surprise to me.
Me too. You know what I'm saying? Don't name, man. You know what I'm saying?
That would be the best band name in the history of all go-go. For anybody that doesn't know what go-go, it doesn't already know about go-go. I think there's a couple people on here that aren't like go-go people. Slumming is what you say. Slumming is the opposite of cranking. Cranking means you sound really good and great, and slumming means it sucks. So, and youngins is our terminology for just, I don't know, what would you even say? Like, it's just like, instead of saying dude, you say, "What's up,
young?" Dude, what's up, young? Yeah.
What's up, young? So basically you're saying you're a group of dudes in a band that sucks. So that's the name of the band. So so Mo said that's why you jumped ship. You said he said this ain't even about the name. He said you embarrassed him, or they embarrassed y'all right on his deck. So his version of the opposite. Bootsy Vegas, Sally from OP Tribe is on here too. He said to tell you what's up, and that Camp Riverview is waiting on you, whatever that is.
Yeah, that's my guy too. So we'll get to that. I played in OP Tribe for a second until E fired me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, both of us. Yeah.
He fired me on the spot. You know what I'm
saying? Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop interrupting you, but the comment.
No, that's all good. It's all good. That's my guy, man.
You're a Delinquent Youngins now.
Oh yeah. So all right, yeah. So
and then what happens from there?
All right. So Delinquent Youngins. So I'm learning about the basically the Annapolis scene. So the Lincoln Youngers, I think our first show was with y'all. There was I look at the rival band, Occupation. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all had.
Hold up, I gotta say something. Hold up, real quick. Okay, well, first of all, I want you to know that Wiley B, Chuck Brown's son, is on here. He's a big supporter, so he's on Instagram. And Wiley, you know, you gotta come over to YouTube, man, so you can see the other side. But he said that is a great name, a catchy name. Talking about Slummy Young.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.
So it's approved by that. But hold on, let me say something right now. Let me talk my shit. The Lincoln Youngers was never no rival band of Occupation. Y'all wasn't fucking with no damn Occupation. I'm sorry, rival, man. There ain't no band in Annapolis that was fucking with Occupation, except for maybe those boys back in the day when Occupation was just getting started. But anyway, I digress. We're gonna get away from that. Mike Arnold, I assume, should come over here and back me up on that, and E better back me up on that too. But wasn't nobody fucking no Occupation. Go ahead.
Well, we were coming. Look. That's how they brought me in. That's how they brought me in. They were like, "Yo, this is band. Yo, we gotta take this spot." And blah blah. So that and honestly, Occupation was the first band that I seen where I was like, "Oh, this is what it can be." Because I think it may have been either our first or second show that I ever had with Lincoln Youngin was at the Columbia Center. I don't remember the Columbia Center. You know what I'm saying? And I remember.
I mean, I know there's a million shows at the Columbia Center, but I remember I can't remember if I did a show with Occupation and Optimistic Tribe, and maybe that was Total Dimension. Maybe that was I can't remember who the opening band was. I thought it might have been. Maybe it wasn't.
It probably was. With this show, I just remember y'all came out to that Erykah Badu joint, and I remember being so like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. What you want to do when it comes to you? Yeah. And I was like, oh man, your band was the first band outside of the band I played with that I actually got to see live. I seen y'all before I actually went to go see Northeast. Because Northeast, it's funny because Northeast was basically. This is all going to go back to how I got here in the music industry. I started studying, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like so. But your band was the first band I seen as a unit play that sounded crazy, and also I'm not just saying this, but you also had that it factor, right? So like in the music industry, there's certain people that you're around where you don't even know what they do. It's just something about them that just kind of draws. You know what I'm saying? Like people pay attention. And I remember seeing, it's funny, Malachi, because you part of the story too, right? I remember, I don't want to get you in trouble, so because you were young, I was young, you know what I'm saying? I remember that night, the Columbia Center, I remember going to a hotel party with Occupation, and you're like, yo, just come by the hotel, you know what I'm saying? So a few of us came by the hotel, and I remember, man, Occupation had the baddest chicks, you know what I'm saying? There's always a record.
Wait a minute, because my wife might be watching this, so we.
You did, but everybody else did though. You know?
I probably did, but I don't do that shit in public. All right, I didn't do that shit in public at the time, so yeah.
Okay. But I just remember at the hotel party and thinking to myself, oh, this is band life. You know what I'm saying? This is band life. And I remember that it was really cool about seeing the unity. You know what I'm saying? And just the fun. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you know, trying to make a long story short. So the Fort Meade, Annapolis kind of let's just call it the northern go-go scene was a very tight-knit community. You know what I'm saying? We all played at the same spot. We did a lot of the same shows. Yep. We all honed our skills. If we were playing at the Staten Center together, we were either playing at the what's the joint? The Night of the Pythias. You know what I'm saying?
Or Eagle's Nest or. Club en Vogue back in the day.
Yeah. We were doing a lot of stuff. So that being said, so I'm playing with the Lincoln Youngins for a while, and I learned a lot, chilling with Larry and them. And then just like any old band, we break up, right? I think Larry quit. Mo went to go play with Prosperity. You know what I'm saying? Is Mo still on? You know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure. He may still.
Yeah. But they slump too. You know what I'm saying? And then we got my boy Joey in Annapolis. You know what I mean? By this time, my other homeboy Aaron came back from the Army, and we all kind of just started mobbing up with Untraceable, Untouchable. We had a whole bunch of unnames. You know what I'm saying? But we
Oates
were
and
just,
Fire Hall and Nathaniel.
yeah, the Owens and Fire Hall. We were just working, right? So if I can pause real quick, it's funny because what Larry and I used to do, and this is how I kind of got to producing. All right, so if you believe in evolution or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's like my first introduction to music was Gogo, playing live with keyboards and stuff like that. It's funny, most people that I know either came up playing church or something. You know, if you're playing keys, you came in a church background. I didn't come up with a church background as a musician, right? So I needed to learn how to play. So I'm playing all these radio songs. We're learning the radio songs, but I also need to learn how to sequence. So I remember one day, because at some point I wanted to start making.
What does that mean? What do you mean by sequence for people that aren't?
Okay, sequence. Okay, so basically, because I was in the band, everything around me evolved around being in the band. So we were playing these songs, and as I started listening to PA tapes, I was like, oh, we got to make our own songs up. But I wanted to construct the song before I even got to practice. So before I knew anything, I said to myself, I wanted there's a keyboard where I can play the drums, you know what I'm saying? And then add what's the name? You know what I'm saying? So I looked it up, and at the time, technology wasn't where it is at today, but it was dumb expensive because everything before you could do it on the computer, well, I couldn't even have a computer. You had to do it on the keyboard. Keyboard had to do it. They had to have a sequencer. So I looked it up, and I guess I really think
like ASR 10 or
yeah. I wasn't even that far advanced. I didn't know nothing about that stuff. You know, with sampling and everything. It's funny. So what happened was, God bless my parents, man. Like my father see me doing something positive. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, yo. He went and took a loan out to get a keyboard that has a sequencer on it, and we went to Bill's Music, and I bought a Yamaha W7 or W6. I think Mike Arnold had the same keyboard. I can't remember it, but it was right before the Motif came out, and it had a 16-track sequencer on there. So this is what we used to do, right? And I know I put a pause in the story, but this is kind of what I think what separates good from being great. I used to listen to PA tapes so much that I started to fall in love with the nuances of a PA tape. Meaning, like, I started to fall in love with how a drummer warms up, how to kick, you know what I'm saying? How he might just kick, how they warm up, what they're doing, all the other stuff outside of music, you know what I'm saying? Like you start paying attention to everything. So what me and Larry used to do, I used to sequence shows on my keyboard. So I used to listen to Northeast Groovers. So Northeast was my first love first, right? And I used to listen to Northeast Groovers tape, and I learned all the Northeast Groovers songs, and I would go sequence the songs on my keyboard. So I would do so if Smoke was playing, Congo played. If he was playing a Congo beat, I would learn that beat to that song. Because it's funny, people that understand Gogo, they think it's really just all random, but it's actually very intentional. So you know what I'm saying? So if they're doing an Owl Baby beat, which everybody knows Owl Baby beat now, I would do a whole routine, and Larry and I would do these battles where I would do a routine, and then he'll be like, I'm gonna be backyard this week, and he'll do a backyard routine, and then we'll play the battles out on the keyboard and see who had the best show.
So Larry was doing them on the keyboard too. And
Larry was doing them on the keyboard. Yeah, Larry was doing them on the keyboard.
Battle them out.
Yeah, we would battle them out.
Battle them out like at rehearsal or like at a show.
No, just for fun. Like we'll come to my apartment. We'll come to my apartment. We'll come to my room and just play. You know, you can play the keyboard. You can play what you did. You can play your performance, and it will be like, yo, who had the best performance? You know what I mean?
Okay.
We'll go hard at it.
Are you on your phone or are you on your laptop?
I'm on my laptop.
Oh, you might want. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, because you were like, we can only see like this much of your face.
Oh yeah. My bad.
No, you good.
Yeah, my bad. So we would do these battles, but I didn't know what I was doing was I was learning how to produce, and I was learning how I was learning how to produce without producing, meaning like I wasn't even quantizing. So my finger drumming game was getting good. Understanding keyboard placement, understanding why you play a chord where you play a chord at. You know what I'm saying? And why this sound. Why this sound goes on top of this sound? Because with Gogo, everything is about intention and being intentional, and everything is about following the setup. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to see like the setup. So I just learned musical things that make a crowd move, right? You know, that make a crowd move. All right. So that being said, back to the band, the band circuit, basically with the Lincoln Youngins and Untraceable and Untouchable, you know what I'm saying? Lead Talker Joey, that's my man.
Wait a minute, was it called Untouchable at one time?
Okay, so I think what happened was, if I remember right, Joey may have had his own band called Untraceable. And then I think his band broke up, and then we just had a whole bunch of pieces laying around from my old band. So we just put another band together and called each other Untouchable for a second.
Yeah, because I couldn't remember. First of all, I was like, if Joey watches this, he's going to cuss me out because I couldn't remember if it was called Untraceable or Untouchable. So
it was both.
This morning, like, what's the name of the band again? And they both said Untraceable. So okay, so I wasn't tripping then. So there was. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah. Yep. So man, we did a lot of battles together, man. Like what I mean by that is like it's especially with Joey and them, because I think we were with them the longest. I'm talking about it'd be 4 feet of snow outside. We would find a place to practice. You know what I'm saying? Like we were like practice would not get canceled. You had to be losing a leg for practice to get canceled. So that being said, though, being in all these bands, it's a tight knit community, right? But the unculati of being in the band is you want to play in the city that it came from. You want to play in DC. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And I don't know about how y'all were thinking over there, Malachi, but I know with me personally, I'm a league person. Meaning, like if when I was a kid, if I wanted to play football, I dreamt of playing in the NFL. If I played the NBA, if I play basketball, I want to be in the NBA. Whatever I do in life, I want to try to do it on the biggest level as possible. You know what I'm saying? That's my Achilles heel. Like I'm gonna go for it all, right? So that being said, it's like I always looked at it like, and through this whole time, I'm never thinking about money. You know what I'm saying? Through this whole time, I'm thinking about like, yo, I want to play where it matters at. Not saying it didn't matter. I'm older now. Like, long as you're playing, it matters. But back younger, you want to play against the biggest and the best. You know what I'm saying? Because Gogo is very competitive too. So our dream was to try to get in the city, right? Try to get in the city. So this is where it's funny because the Gogo community is basically a small microcosm of the music industry. Like you can apply the same tactics. So this is kind of what I learned first. So in the meantime, I'm still doing the band thing. I'm not really thinking about producing stuff, but I'm doing that just for fun. I'm making little beats and stuff like that. But my whole goal is I want to be a big band, as they call it. That's the goal, big band, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going down to DC every weekend. Me and my boy Aaron, we're meeting people. We're doing at the time, I'm a little older now. I'm starting to meet promoters. I'm going to all. So, okay, my first love was Backyard. I'm sorry, my first love was Northeast. My last love was Backyard. You know what I'm saying? Because Backyard just the music just spoke to me. The music aspect spoke to me more than any other band aspect. So I started going to all these Backyard shows. So what I started finding out was insight is in mind, right? So the more people see you, the more people start associating. They start knowing your face. They start associating you with where they are at, right? So if they see you at all the big shows, and you're always there, and you're kind of cool, not like a groupie or something, but they're gonna be like, oh well, he's supposed to be here. If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying? So if I start talking with the sound man about sound, and he keeps like, yo, just come doing this, they start associating you with just part of the industry, right? Yep. So I'm going down. I'm back here at the time. I think Big Vic was a big promoter. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking. So I was doing managerial stuff, not even know I was doing managerial stuff. You know what I'm saying? On some real shit. I think I gave somebody an idea about the play to pay. I remember it was on call for. I was like, listen, man, I'll give you $100. Just let my band open up. You know what I'm saying? Probably the first person, but he was like, I never did it before. And then all of a sudden, just one guy, and then they have a whole bunch of bands paying to play. You know what I'm saying? In front of them. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So I started doing that. We're playing. We're getting our name known. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, I'm still making up original songs. So one thing I will say that came out of that came out of the Annapolis kind of go-go culture. Like we were very musical. We like between occupation, us, we all focused on actually playing music. You know what I'm saying? Because it's funny, like again, we're kind of in our own little world, so we're kind of cut off from what's going on in the city. And just like the music industry, go-go was going through the same thing, where people were listening to more of the drum beats, more to the music was getting lost for younger bands coming up. But for whatever reason, in the Fort Meade, Annapolis area, the St. Mary's area, you know, we always focused on music. Like Malachi, you know this too. You were one of the only guys that was still really playing guitar that can really play guitar. You know what I'm saying? That was like that was like a dinosaur, you know what I'm saying? Which in turn understands why you got recruited by big bands later on, because there are a good guitar players are hard. It's hard to find that can understand go-go and still play music at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that being said, I hope y'all follow me. That being said, I'm down in DC now. I'm getting to know people. We're meeting people. We're just moving around, trying to figure this thing out. But I'm still doing music. So I think what happened maybe around. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how the exact merger. I do know. Okay, so Aaron. So I go to Morgan State at this time. I'm like 19. I go to Morgan State, right? I got a football scholarship because I play football, but I'm in Morgan State. But I was not a good student. You know what I'm saying? I was basically I turned my dorm room into a studio. I couldn't really play in a band like I really wanted to at Morgan because I'm at Morgan State, right? So in the meantime, we were practicing maybe once every 2 weeks, and if something come up, we kind of did it. So this is kind of where I started doing the music shit now. So I still had a keyboard. I turned my dorm room into a studio. So all the people were coming to me recording, and I started getting nice at making beats. Aaron was doing the same thing. So Aaron was like, yo, man, like when I knew the football shit wasn't gonna happen, I was like, maybe I can make some money doing this music thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I started making beats, and I was taking it seriously, but I started understanding. I started doing beats with like guys in Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? I started getting with collectives. Like I think it was Charm City Records. They had an artist called Backlund at the time. And
what was the artist's name again?
Backlund. I can't even remember. I think he went up to 106 and Park and did like this Battle of the Beats back when 106 and Park was on there. So I was doing beats for them, but nothing really came out of it, right? So I'm doing these beats, right? So at the same time, because this is the gift and the curse of go-go, I think. My main goal was to be a big band. So the beats was just something I was doing on the side, but my heart was really go-go music. Like I can't tell you how many jobs I lost because it conflicted with what I was doing with my band. You know what I'm saying?
I totally understand. But let me ask you a question. How do you define, just for anybody that's watching that's not from the go-go community, how do you define a big band? Like, what is the definition of a big band? Like, not the name, I we know what the names are, but what is it? Like, of course, Northeast Groovers and Backyard are a big band, but what is it about them that makes them a big band versus
a big band? To me was basically a band that had a weekly spot, like a weekly spot that was playing at least 2 or 3 times a week for a big crowd. You know what I mean? So for y'all to understand anything about go-go music, here's how powerful go-go music is. Puff Daddy and Rare Essence can be doing a show right next door to each other, right? On the same night, the same day. As a consumer, you have $45, and this is a real like if you ever bought you do, you know what I'm saying? You do shows. I can go see Mary J. Blige for the same. I can go see Mary J. Blige at the Hollywood Bowl here, and that ticket, going to see Backyard at the right time and on the night will cost more to see Mary J. Blige on a Saturday. Backyard will cost more money to go see them on a Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? If you catch it the right night, and that's at the Hollywood Bowl. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that's how much DC loves their music, and they put their bands on the same pedestal as certain superstars that are actually out in the world making millions of dollars. And I will say, I'm jumping around, and I don't want y'all to get it twisted. Go-go is a very economical resources. There are people that do make a lot of money off this music. You know what I'm saying? It might be few in between, but there's some of these big bands have came across some millions of dollars. Maybe not at one time, but over the course of time, it's crazy. But we can touch on that in a second. Long story short, I'm in college. I'm doing beats. I'm still messing with the band stuff, but you know, life happens. People start having kids now. You know, it's just going haywire. I took a DC hiatus, and I went to New York to work with this guy named Ralph Lowe. And I went up there to just work on music. I was in the studio all day, and I was working with this group called the Lost Boys. And
the rap group, the Lost Boys.
Yeah, the rap group called the Lost Boys. But this is the Lost Boys towards their end, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I'm in the studio and I'm in New York and I'm just basically living at my man's house with his family and just doing music. I'm just in there all day long, just doing music, and it's funny because I was in New York for maybe about a year and some change, and I learned a lot, but learned nothing all at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense.
What do you mean by that? Break that down.
All right. So I learned how to be in the studio, but I didn't learn about the music industry.
Okay.
Right. So I didn't learn, and I say that because like I love New York, but New York has a very closed mindset, right? And the deeper, so I was in Jamaica, Queens. So being in Jamaica, Queens, it's very localized, and the people that I'm around, the team that I'm around was all about Jamaica, Queens, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So they were more worried about the little rapper on the back streets of 134 than going out and building relationships at labels, if that makes sense. Even though we had label connects, I don't know if I'm making sense.
That sounds like a similar story.
Exactly. So same similar to DC. So I'm just all worried about music. And granted, I wasn't ready yet, but there were times when they would go to the labels, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, I should go out there and try to meet some people. But I'm like, no, I'm just gonna work on it. I'm just gonna work on these beats. So I did that for about 2 years, and went right back down to Maryland. I got a little more independence now. I'm about 21 and started getting back into the band shit. Started doing the same thing and just moved around a couple of years, you know what I'm saying? Not really doing nothing, but just really trying to figure out this band stuff. Try guitar player here, try bass player here, try bass, a new Congo player here. But through all this, I'm just building this network up, you know what I mean? So
are you intentionally, is this based upon what you were saying earlier, where like you feel like the face and name association, so you're intentionally building this network as you're going along, or is it just kind of?
I didn't know. I didn't know. I'm just going to what I think. I'm a real personable person, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just doing what I think is supposed to happen. There's a battle of bands here. Yo, we should enter this. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
let me go talk to you first. Oh, this thing going on over here. Let me do this, right? So it's crazy because it all falls into what ended up happening. You end up diversifying your portfolio, right? So it came to a point to where, like, it even came. I'm just jumping all over the place, but it came to a point to where, this is probably how you guys started, to where we couldn't get shows, right? Because it started becoming so clicky, you know what I'm saying? Which again is how the music industry works. You have to have the right relationships, right? Yep. So I remember, and it's funny, it's out of necessity. This is what happened. I remember in Annapolis. I'm going to just tell the whole truth, right? In Annapolis, we wanted to have a show, right? I had a homeboy that had a hookup at the Salvation Army, right? Mm-hmm. Where I can get the Salvation Army for like $200. Mm-hmm. So I remember, I never forget it. Aaron and I was like, at this point, I was kind of known. I know a bunch of people, right, by association. So one, I started. It's funny. So who you know? I started dating the singer at the time that was in Backyard. So that kind of got me access. You know what I'm saying? To a lot of stuff that I wasn't privy to. So I became really good with them. They knew who I was. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, well, fuck it. If nobody don't want to put my band on shows, you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because my girl was in the band, but just because your girl's in the band or doesn't mean they can still help you. It just means you just have a resources and you gotta know how to activate that resource. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So that being said, I want to do my own. I want a show. So I was like, well, fuck it, just throw your own show, Mike. You know what I'm saying? So I had a hookup. At the Salvation Army. I had a hookup at the Salvation Army. I had a for $200. I didn't tell nobody this, right? So I was like, Aaron, yo, my homeboy at the time used to manage OP Tribe Family. I was like, family, let's tell me what you can get back there for on an off night. So I end up promoting the show at the Salvation Army. It was the most craziest shit ever. Like,
I remember.
Yeah,
not that many people did.
What happened?
I said I remember because not that many people did shows at the Salvation Army.
Yeah, the Salvation Army style. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a good spot too. That's a crazy thing. You know what I'm saying? So Aaron and I went to Kinko's. Made these cool little flyers up. You know what I'm saying? But this was before Instagram and IG. It was hand in hand. We went to I can't remember all the Annapolis spots, Bywater, Annapolis Woods, the gardens, hand in hand, you know what I'm saying, Joey. So I remember thinking like, man, I had Backyard coming down. It's gonna be a show before a show. You know what I'm saying? That's how I can get them so cheap. They came down. So I remember the sound man called out at the last minute. I really knew what it was. It was price gouging. The sound man and the security called out, so I had to find somebody else, and I ended up costing double, right? So, we ended up making I think 415 people came. You know what I'm saying? Like 415 people came. I ended up making, I don't want to say a shitload of money, but I made a shitload of money. But my expenses were so high. Yeah, I basically didn't have any money left over, but I had enough money to go to Denny's. You know what I'm saying? But I remember being like, oh shit, I pulled this shit off and really, what's going on here? You know?
Listen, I have almost the same story. So did you have OP Tribe open, or who opened for?
No, my band opened.
Okay, I got you.
We had Backyard.
I got you because you mentioned the OP Tribe manager at the time. But the reason I said because the Columbia Center show that I was talking about earlier, I had Occupation, OP Tribe opened, and then I'm pretty sure it was. I just said the name of the band. I forgot what the fuck it was. The band that Jawan and Freddie and Brandon and all of them were in. What was the name of their band? Chad's original band before Prosperity.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't.
Somebody in this, every fucking body from Annapolis is watching this thing. Somebody remind me of what they were called. Anyway, it was Chad's original band. It was Chad and Freddie and Brandon would play keyboards and Jawan front line. Anyway, it was those three bands, I think, and it was the same thing. Like I was just like, man, I just made, I think it was $600, and I was like 18 or something. I was like, that's
a lot of money for you.
This is the best shit ever. And but it's sometimes you just got to take the bull by the horns and just do the shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I took some losses too.
There's a lot of lessons to be learned from what you're saying right now. You dropped a bunch of gems. First of all, the fact Total Dimensions, that's what it was. Who's doing D9 Music? Type your name in here because I'm not sure who it is. I'm sure I know who you are in real life, but the one thing you said that struck me, and sorry to keep interrupting you, but it's important people to pay attention. You said that when you got in Delinquent Youngins, y'all objective was we got to take Occupation out, or not necessarily take Occupation out.
We wanted to compete.
We got to compete, and I think that sort of has been lost in Go-Go. I think that it's just kind of like, all right, well, we're just gonna get up here, we're gonna sing a couple cover songs, and I'm gonna drink my drink and look at my cell phone. Whereas back in the day, we just had that passion. Now, granted, of course, we were all young then. We all had. A lot of people have jobs and shit like that now. So it's a little different. But that was really important that you said, and the fact that you took the time to build your that's Alizé, D9 Music. I didn't realize who it was. So and the fact that you took the time to build your network. I'm gonna be honest with you, because Alizé is on here. I remember Alizé telling me about y'all going to Philly and all that shit, and I thought completely full of shit at the time. I was like, yeah.
Oh man, let me. So
we got to get to that because that's an important thing too. But you were building your relationships as you were going along. You were leveraging your relationships, and the one thing I wanted you to, just because you were dating somebody in the band doesn't mean, just because you know somebody and you have a relationship doesn't mean that you need to automatically activate that relationship. You need to have something of value to the other side. And I think a lot of people get that mistaken when they think relationship, because everybody wants somebody to put them on. And that's my homie. Yeah, hook me up. Do this for me. You're my friend. Do that. No, you got to have something to provide to the other side.
Absolutely.
You can't
do
something for you all the time, because then people aren't going to fucking answer your phone call anymore. Relationships are dead. So, I mean, you're rolling into the story, but it's really, really important information and a lot of what I'm trying to get across with this interview series. So I appreciate you saying it.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna tell you the truth, because like it's crazy, and I know I'm jumping all over the place, but like even going back to what you say, the relationship thing, right? It's not like I was for one, the relationship was organic. It wasn't like I was dealing with the person. It just so happened that's just the community I was in, and just like any community, if you're in the textile community, right? There's going to be certain lingo and certain things and certain people that you deal with on a everyday basis, right? So I'm in the go-go community, so I'm learning about how what this spot is. I'm learning about what a bar guarantee is. I'm learning about what a just so because the whole goal is you just want to play. You know what I'm saying? And then at least for me, there comes to a point to where it's like I guess I call the any means necessary mind state, where go-go is a very loyal thing, right? So you're very loyal to your band. You're very like I only want to play with this person. I only play with that person. But
it used to be. It's not anymore, but it was when we were coming. I said it used to be. It's not anymore.
It used to be. Yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm going with it. But as you start getting deeper into this, you'd be like, well, shit. I mean, that's my man, but can he get the job done? At least for you. So then you start going to who's ever there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then and you got to also understand, like, I'm going super hard for a long time of doing these shows without making any money, without playing. You know what I'm saying? Like no money.
I paid a red cent from occupation ever. I don't think.
Right, exactly. Right. But you didn't need it. All you really cared about was going up there and cranking. And it's funny, going back to the competitive thing. All you really wanted to do was make the other band ask a question, like, "Yo, who's that?" You know what I'm saying? Or like, "Oh, they hear." If you make another band wanna crank, you know what I'm saying? Then you did your job. It's funny. That's all you wanted was respect from your peers. You know what I'm saying?
Guess who just came on?
Who?
Larry Dennis Jr.
Oh, that's my man. I just gave him all the props. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you missed the whole shit. He was talking about you for the first 20 minutes of the interview.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yo, he's the reason why I'm here, yo. So one of the reasons, the first reasons, you know what I'm saying? So all right, so now I'm gonna try to merge this over to the music side, because I can go wherever. So all right, so basically, Aaron Alizé, you know what I'm saying? That he actually replaced Larry on drums when Larry left. He was actually playing roller toms and keyboards, but Aaron lived in Texas, and Aaron is actually the first person that introduced to me how to make a beat right. Like, he showed me how to sequence. He just showed me the technical stuff. I always tell people this all the time. Out of my production partner, he's probably the more talented one. Like, you know what I'm saying? He showed me how to make a beat right, and showed me on the beat hustle. So we're doing the band thing, and we're making these beats, right? It's kind of distorted, but somewhere along the line, we started going harder at the beat thing. And I think part of it was when I started dating the singer of Backyard. She used to be a songwriter. So, and she's I always tell her to this day, she's the first person that showed me the music industry. Like, I didn't know, you kind of know, but you don't know songwriters write songs for other artists. You know what I mean? Like, most of your favorite artists sing other people's words. You know what I'm saying? Because just because you're gifted at being on stage don't mean you're gifted at writing. You know what I'm saying? So
another important point for the go-go community.
Exactly. So I started learning about song structure, and then she at the time had something called placements. So this is an industry term, placements, meaning that she placed records that she wrote, she placed on other artists, right? As simple as that sounds, it's funny. I didn't even know there was a word to exist to describe that, right? Mm-hmm. So she was singing in Backyard, and she was always back and forth between Backyard and Atlanta. And I used to go with her down to Atlanta, and I would just see the music industry in Atlanta. So I was like, oh shit, this is kind of what we need to be doing. So I would go down there and see what she was doing, and I would kind of start applying those tactics to one, to the go-go industry, and two, to the to what Aaron and I was doing. So again, just by me going around and meeting people in the go-go industry, I was getting my foot in the door of stuff like I met E. Remember that's how I got occupation for not occupation OP Tribe for a second. I filled in with Backyard a few times. I'm just getting my faces. People associate you with the scene. You know what I'm saying? If you see me with Coop, you must be as important as Coop. You know what I'm saying? If you see me,
Coop will be on here on Friday. We got his interview.
That's my man. I tell you, man. Backyard, man, he helped build them boys up. No boys work hard. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So people associate you by where you at, not kind of what you're doing. You just got to know how to not exploit it the right way, right? So that being said, I was doing the same thing. So Aaron, my dog, man, we would drive Aaron. So I had the gold community, then I also, luckily for me, I had another community. I had like a neo soul live band community. So I was
So how'd you get into that?
When I went to Aaron playing in church, I started going to. I want to get better as a keyboard player because I remember I could only. It's funny, I could only chord with my left hand, right? Mm-hmm. And I wanted to start and listening to back and all this other stuff and also, I wanted to master the opening song. Being in the go-go band, you want to come out with a regular song and you want to kill it. You want people to showcase your musicianship. You know what I'm saying? So I want to be a better keyboard player. So I started going Aaron to church. I started meeting musicians. Come here. I went to Morgan State. A lot of the guys, I started doing some stuff on Morgan State. Like I think Morgan State, we started a little band just to do some stuff. I just started meeting people. So I started going to open mics and sitting in and started learning. So that evolves to Mike, Aaron played drums, you know what I'm saying? Aaron got a gig at the spot called the Black Lily, which is in Philadelphia. So we would go up there every Wednesday. Now for y'all don't know about the Black Lily was the epicenter of the neo soul movement at the very beginning. I'm like, everybody played there, and he was part of the house band. Like you go up there, Questlove, Spank, Flowetry, Jasmine Sullivan, Jill Scott, Bilal. On a regular basis, we would just go up there and basically just share with these dudes. You know what I'm saying? So we would go up there and get that experience, and then you start talking to people. Can you do some songs here? Can you do some songs there? So again, I'm dating a songwriter. I'm also watching her and helping her out and learning song structure, right? So it's kind of how I started getting into it, and then still trying to do the go-go thing, but then I realized, let me start applying some of the stuff I learned during the go-go circuit as far as meeting people. Start applying some of these tactics with the regular music circle, right? So, and I'm saying all this because the music wasn't even where it was at. You know what I'm saying? To garner some type of income, it was just serviceable. You feel what I'm saying? So what I started doing, what Aaron and I started doing, we just started going out, started doing the go club, started going to shows. We started playing for different type of artists in DC, which gave us access to behind the stage. Like I remember we did a show with KRS-One. We were playing with this young lady at the time named Imani Phelan. You know what I'm saying? This rapper. So, yeah. So we were doing shows. I'm getting more access. I'm playing at the 930 Club before it was, you know what I'm saying, the Black Cat, doing these different type of jazz things. Yeah, it was just crazy. I started moving around. So, and at the same time, now I'm claiming the producer aspect. I make beats. Can you write to this? Can you write to that? But I still know how to put a song together, right? So still doing the go-go thing, my girl at the time singing in the backyard again, she was showing me the music industry. She was showing me like, yo, this is what a producer does. This is how they get paid. This is how they move around. So I'm like, okay. And I always call her she's the first person. I always call her like a line cutter, right? What I mean by that is like, you ever go a line cutter, right? This is what I mean by that. So you ever go to speaking of Go, you ever go to the Go-Go's, like we used to play at the Mad Chef, right? We had a few shows at the Mad Chef, and the line at the Mad Chef be wrapped around the corner, right? And then you see some people dip in line, dip out of line, dip in line, they get to the front of the line and get in the club, you know what I'm saying? But you still staying in line, but like, yeah, man, that's fucked up. But you know what I'm saying? But they were brave enough to cut in line and get in, right? That's how she went about life. You know what I'm saying? Like she took the rules and made the rules her own rules. So I was like, oh man, she could argue an AT&T bill down to 2 cents. She was relentless. You know what I'm saying?
I've been around her enough to know, not a lot, but I've seen it.
Yeah. But she was very intentional on her goals, whether it meant she had to be a bitch or not. If that makes sense. Not saying I wanted to be that, but it showed me like, oh, you gotta really want this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now to the regular music thing. So Gogo's my heart. Gogo's taught me to, at this point now, it taught me to know how to be in the band, know how to throw shows, understanding what a good record was. Because after playing so many covers so long, you start to understand what makes up a good song without even knowing it, right? Also, you also understand how to service your customer, right? Meaning, Gogo's the only thing in this music industry is delayed gratification. Like I can do a record and I don't see how people really react to it. I don't see how the world reacts to it because I'm not out there in the world. Gogo, you see instantly, but if people are fucking with you or not, you know what I'm saying? Instantly. So you learn that, you know what I'm saying?
The fact that DC has a population, or the DMV in general just has a population of people who are a little bit more likely to tell you how they feel than places out here like in the West where everybody's just kind of cool and polite. Yeah, what's up? Right? These people like, man, fuck you. You know? So,
that's
exactly no. Yeah.
Yeah, nah, that's you 100% right with that. So I'm taking all these lessons that I'm learning, being in the band, and I start applying them to the real music industry, right? So the first thing I say to myself, I remember Aaron and I was trying to do this, Aaron and I was trying to do, and during the same time, we're just doing beats and stuff. We're like doing everything, making beats for Little Bobo to Little Gogo to Little JoJo to Little Lolo, right? So I remember one time, I'm sitting in at this point, I'm like 24, 25, 26, I don't know, one of them 20s. I'm sitting in my apartment, and Aaron and I are working on a track, and I remember we were doing this, there was this contest out, because at this point we're doing beat battles, we're going back and forth to New York, you know what I'm saying? We're nothing major, right? We're doing this, I had an apartment off Rhode Island Avenue in Mount Rainier, which is like right before DC, right? I was paying like $525 a month. It was an art apartment, and that's crazy, right? And it was actually a nice apartment, right? And I couldn't afford it. I got evicted. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So I had a job at the Pentagon. This is another thing too. Because my father was in the military, because of relationships, you know what I'm saying, I was able to get the opportunity to work at the Pentagon, right? So I'm working at the Pentagon, and I just bought an MPC, my first MPC, and Aaron and I are making beats. And I remember we're doing this thing. I guess Eminem had this contest out, right? Eminem had this contest out to make a beat to his acapella. And I remember making the beat and playing the keyboard. I remember being frustrated, like, man, why I can't get this song to Eminem? Why I can't get the song to Eminem, right? Because as a producer, you know, you make all these records, you want to, there's no way, there's no book on how to get the records to the artist, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I keep saying this to myself. I think God put the seed in my head. He said, yo, say it different, Mike. I'm like, say it different. And it was like, why can't I get this song to Eminem? And the second I phrased it different, I started moving different, right? Mm-hmm. So this is one of the first things I did, I was like, okay, I got to be more resourceful. You know what I'm saying? So just like Gogo had to be resourceful, I was like, I got to be more resourceful. So I started really reading the CD credits, like the names that nobody really cares about. You know what I'm saying? And I started just doing some stealthy shit. Like where I lived, I remember young Jeezy was having an autograph signing at a downtown locker room, right? And this is the lesson too, right? At a downtown locker room, I was like, all right, I got some tracks I think Jeezy be crazy good on. I want to go to the signing and give him my CD. You know what I'm saying? But you had to buy the CD. You had to buy his CD to get into the downtown locker room so he can sign it, right?
In-store, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think that I got this genius plan, right? I'm like, yeah, he's gonna get my CD. I'm gonna meet him, and I'm gonna get my music to him, right? So I tell my girlfriend at the time, who was singing in the background, I'm like, yo, I'm about to go to the downtown locker room and get this shit cracking, get this shit popping, right? She's like, Mike, that's cute. You know what I'm saying? But look, it's not gonna work. I'm like, what you mean? Like, look, I was like, listen, do your plan, right? But listen, when you get up there, who's his manager? I don't know who his manager is. So like I said, she was real resourceful. She was testing me. All right, his manager's a guy named Kevin. All right. When you get up there, give him your CD, but then ask for Kevin. I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to ask for Kevin because I'm gonna do shit my way. I get in there, the line's wrapped around the corner. I get up to the top with Jeezy. I got my CD ready to go. I took the time. So this is when I bounced all these records out. And if you know anything about Pro Tools and stuff, this was before offline bouncing. So if you beat the 3 minutes and 30 seconds, I had to bounce the whole thing out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I get up there. I bought a little CD printer. I think our production name at the time was Dead Beats Music. You know what I'm saying? Put my phone number on there, Aaron's phone number. Sit in line. I paid a little fucking $15 for a Jeezy album that I didn't even listen to. You know what I'm saying? And I get to the top of the staircase, and guess what, guys? He had a shitload of CDs in front of him. You know what I'm saying? Of other people with beats. You know what I'm saying? A pile of CDs. So I said. I did my little spill. I was like, I'm a big fan, Young Jeezy. Here's my CD. He looked at my CD and just put it with the pile with the rest of them, right? So as I'm about to leave, I'm like, oh, yo, is Kevin here? Right? And he looked at me, was like, oh, you know Kevin? you know what I'm saying? I was like, yeah, Kevin. Yo, he's like that dude, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? So I go back. I was like, oh shit. So now I'm backstage. I'm talking with Kevin. If y'all know who Kevin is Coach K. Yep. For
Quality Control.
Quality Control. So this was so
Migos, all them.
Yeah, the Migos, all them. Yeah, the City Girls and all them. You know what I'm saying? Over at Capitol. So, but this was before he was always Coach K, but this was before he had Jeezy first. And Coach K been around for a minute.
What year was this, you think?
This was maybe 06 or 07, I want to say.
Yeah.
A little like around. This is before he had the beard. Like he was just clean.
Somebody put me in contact with him around 07, I think, when Miracles first came out with Mambo Song.
Yep, I remember Miracles, yep.
And I fumbled the ball. Like I didn't realize who I was talking to. I don't remember. Mm-hmm. I don't think I didn't like blow him off or anything like that, but I didn't follow up. And, I knew he was Jeezy's manager, but for some reason I didn't believe it. Like the person that put me in contact with them, it didn't seem right, but he was interested. He really I did have a phone conversation with him, and he really was interested in what was going on and go-go scene and all that shit. And I fucking fumbled the ball. So anyway, go ahead back.
Yeah, no. It's funny because like just to show you too, it's like those are some of the lessons that like you went through. I went through too. Like one of my lessons was I was too eager. Like there's a lot of people. Oh yeah, and God bless God bless Tony Rez too. You know what I'm saying? I just want to say But there's a lot of people. And because there's no music industry presence in DC, there's a difference. There's a music scene, but there's not a music industry scene. You feel what I'm saying?
There's radio and distribution. That's
So there's a lot of misinformation, and people take advantage of that. Like man, I remember what you have to learn. What I had to learn in this, what Gogo taught me was you have to understand your pecking order, right? The top CEO is just as important as the person that hands out flyers, right?
Yep.
Only if you apply them right. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm making sense so far, right?
Well, break that down a little bit more.
Okay, so what I'm saying is this. All right, the top CEO has the same. You gotta treat the CEO of a major label just as important as the flyer guy. But you gotta know how to. The flyer guy, the street team person, that knows how to. But you gotta know how to apply their resources right. Meaning, all right. Because people get this shit backwards. We look at things wrong, right? So like, I remember back in the day, you just want to industry connect so bad. And if you met somebody and was like, "Yo, I work at UNPG, yo, I'm so and so, right?" Aaron would tell you, I'll be Aaron, yo, listen, man, this is a guy that work at UNPG, yo. He wants us to build a rocket ship and sell it, you know what I'm saying, and shoot it in the sky at 1:00 p.m. Yo, we gotta make that shit happen. And you make that shit happen, and he's just a flyer guy. You know what I'm saying? He really can't do nothing for you. Not saying, well, he can't do what you want him to do for you. You know what I'm saying? Which is get you signed or get you whatever. You know what I'm saying? But what he can do is, if you understand it, you can hang some flyers up with him. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And that might get you access to somebody else. To get you access to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, that's the whole relationship thing. It's not again, back to the put me on thing. Like there isn't really anybody that's going to just say, "You're dope. Let me just take you and make you a star." You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it doesn't work like that. It's basic. It's a combination of a series of relationships and a certain amount of value that you provide to the other side. Just like you in your example, you go hang up the flyers with the flyer dude and help him with what he needs. That will help. And it's not a quid pro quo. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. But it's like, yo, like if you know this dude and you know this dude is cool and doesn't ask you for shit all the time, then when it's something that could benefit them, you help them out. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that's what it is. So okay. So you talked to Coach K and how did that?
I talked to Coach K. I mean, nothing came out of it, but it showed me. I was like, oh, a name got me here, right? So all right, so that happened, and I'm still doing the band thing, but I'm not. But I'm kind of really focusing on ain't nothing like a real job that you hate. Kind of put things in perspective of what you really want to do. You know what I'm saying? And at this time, I had a decent job. I had a job that like I could have parlayed that into like having my little townhouse in Fort Washington with my dog charger and my 2.5 kids. You know what I'm saying? My government situation. You know what I'm saying? But I was severely unhappy. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, I started understanding. So now I'm about to really go into music industry shit, right? So the one of the benefits I started learning, it was like, again, association and being at the place at the right time, right? So I remember, because of me living in DC and me Go allow me to explore the city. I knew a lot of people. I knew a lot of different events. I knew when things were happening. So I remember Howard University was like an epic center, more than my school, Morgan State, for celebrities to come down, because a lot of music industry people came out of there. So Howard was always throwing seminars. So I made sure I had relationships with or knew people that went to Howard, you know what I'm saying? Because now I also understood from going back and forth to Atlanta the value of a songwriter, right? So here's the thing, beat makers. We're a dime a dozen. You know what I'm saying? The music industry don't really buy beats like that. You're not just gonna sell a beat, you know what I'm saying? Unless you're really in with the artist, you feel what I'm saying, or you know the artist, you know what I'm saying? So, or you have a direct relationship with the artist, but for you just to give beats out on the CD, people make beats too fast nowadays, you know what I'm saying? So what I stood immediately was, at the time, especially R&B music, I need good songwriting. You know what I'm saying? And
beats by sneakers, songs by houses is
amen. Amen. Yep. So I needed songwriters. So I made sure I stayed in contact with college kids and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Even I wasn't in college no more. because I need a songwriter. I was putting ads out on Craigslist looking for songwriters. So one of the guys hit me back. He went to Howard, and he knew everything that was going on at Howard. So if somebody would come down, you know what I'm saying? Somebody would come down to talk. I was there. So I remember one time. This is what I learned: how people associate. Everybody in the music industry has an ego. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta know how to use. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. You just gotta understand that. And you gotta know how to make that ego work for you. You know what I'm saying? So for example, I remember Brian Michael Cox was coming down to talk. You know what I'm saying? So I went down. I went down to Howard. I got in a little one-on-one seminar, and I got a chance to meet Brian Michael Cox. I did my spiel. I said, "Hey, Brian, how are you doing, man? My name is Mike. I'm a producer. Can I get some, can I get your information?" You know what I'm saying? He spun me, gave me the man his assistant information, right?
Wait, is this Christy? Was it Christy at Bronze Blue Marketing? Was that her information?
Yeah, his publicist, right? Yeah, the publicist, right?
Same thing, because I met him at the radio station when and he wanted to do something with Mama Saw supposedly, but then he gave
So
he gave me the bullshit info too,
it's funny. So the second time I met him was he actually called. They were at Night Flight, one of them studios, right? And he called for Backyard to come down.
No, that's how I met him. I was on that session when they did the remix for that girl group.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you were there. I remember seeing you there. Yeah,
I was filling in with Backyard at the time. That's how I met him. I remember that now. Yeah. And
I think I remember coming there. So that's my second time meeting him, right? So boom. I go there again. He sees me again, but the thing is, he's seeing me where he's at. You feel what I'm saying? So one time I seen him at a public picture, everybody can see him at. The second time I see him is more secluded now. Like, oh, how'd you get here? Oh, I know the songwriter in the Backyard, and then me knowing Lisette, the songwriter, she knows of B Cox through Atlanta because she was writing for everybody at the time. You feel what I'm saying? So it kind of makes me go, all right, who's this? So now I got a familiar face. You know what I'm saying? Fast forward some more. I'm not rich by no means, but I have expensive taste in food. I will eat some shit. So I used to go to this restaurant in called the Tavern in Atlanta at this mall called Fifth Mall. You know what I'm saying? And I will go eat an $80 steak. You know what I'm saying? With $100 in my pocket, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So I will be at that restaurant eating my food, and I will see B Cox, and I'll get up and go say, "Hey, what's up?" You know what I'm saying? Now at this point, I'm cool. I'm just saying what's up, and he'd be like, "Oh, how's so and so doing? How's so and so doing?" Because he's seeing me where he's at. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think the last time I seen him was at this L.A. Reid. L.A. Reid was doing a showcase in Atlanta, and he parked right in front of me. I'm getting out of my car. He getting out of his car. He was like, "Mike," you know what I'm saying? At the time, you know what I'm saying? So. It just showed me like, oh, when people see you around where they at, they think you're supposed to be there. You feel what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, example, I know I'm jumping forward. It's kind of like if you get in the room, man, you in the room, just act like you're supposed to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't tell you how many times I got into a industry party out here and I'm sitting right next to Dr. Dre. I'm not going to go, but Dr. Dre, because he's there and everybody else there, everybody automatically going to think you belong there. So carry yourself as so. And work the room right. You feel what I'm saying? Don't overdo it. Don't act. The second you start acting like, oh, he just knows somebody on the list and he got it in, and they got in. But that's one thing that I learned. That's one thing that I learned. Another thing. So all right. So again, producers are a dime a dozen, right? I needed a songwriter. So at this time, I think Aaron and I end up messing with my man Minister Mills out in Laurel. He had this big establishment. In Laurel where he was duplicating CDs and he had some studios. So I had my own room down there, right? So it was a collective of us and we just grinding and doing music, right? So I was like, I need some songwriters. So I kept trying to get songwriters. You know what I'm saying? And at this time, I'm like, I gotta go to where the music industry is at too. So Aaron and I, we kept going back and forth to Atlanta. We made a few connections in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? We kept driving back and forth, couch hopping, just doing weird stuff. I made some connections out here. I met some guys that this company called they're from DC called One Up. I don't know if you heard of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Rich and those guys. I never met them, but the funny connection. If you remember Kalina, that was right with them
before me. Yep.
Kalina did the top line for the very first Mambo Sauce song.
Oh, wow.
And well, it gets even funnier because she was messing with Brandon, right? Remember Brandon, football player Brandon. And this was me, Brandon, and Antoine Teo, that plays with Team Familiar now, but he was with Drew Hill.
Shout out to Brandon too, man. He showed me my first chord. He showed me how to chord with both hands.
Yeah. So she was madly in love with Brandon, and we were all hanging out together. So I told, and this is when I was putting Mambo Sauce together. Me and Ron Ward, if you remember, if you know Ron, that played,
I know Ron. Yep.
Who I used to play with too. Record, like me and him co-wrote and recorded this track, right? And we had I came and had Smoke play on it. Smoke from Northeast Groovers played the key. So the whole track was programmed, drums, everything. But we had Smoke come play the live congas on it because this was how I was trying to put Mambo Sauce together. You know what I mean? And she wrote a dope ass record over top of it, right? She didn't have a car at the time. I had to go pick her up to take her to Ron's studio to do the reference. Now, for those that don't know what that means, the reference is a songwriter writes a song, they sing the song, but it's not really the final version of what's going to be on the song. It gets taken off. The artist puts their version on top of it. So I drove to Laurel to pick her up. I think I was living in Arnold, maybe. I drove from, or no, maybe I was in. I might have been in Pioneer City at the time. I don't remember exactly where I was. But I drove from either Arnold or Pioneer City to Laurel to pick her up, to then go back to Severna Park to Ron's house. And yeah, exactly. And I had like this old beat up ass bucket car at the time too, a 1979 Mercury Monarch. So it was fucking probably like $100 in gas just to do this thing. I get all the way to Laurel. She wasn't there, right? Her roommate was like, no, she left with Rich and those guys to go to Atlanta. And I'm like, we had this fucking scheduled for her to come. The last minute thing. And so I flipped the fuck out and I wrote. So if anybody's ever heard the very first Mambo Sauce single that was released called Fairweather, it's Fairweather Friend. It's about the fact that Kalina wrote the top line to that song or to that record. And then I rewrote it. Wrote it again about her, which it sounds like it's about a girl that there's a romantic relationship with, but it's not. It's really about her stiffing me on writing the song. So I know you are. I mean, it didn't get, it wasn't in like rotation like Miracles or whatever, but it did get played on the radio a few times, and it's still a pretty damn good song. But it forced me into having to write the lyrics and melody to that song because. And hers was significantly better than mine, as I'm sure you imagine. If people don't know who Kalina is, she was the girl, one of the two girls in Puffy's group, Dirty Money. Yeah. So anyway, so you met Rich and those guys. You met them out here or in Atlanta?
Yeah. I met them. So I met Rich's production partner in Colombia, and Aaron also cuts hair. Yep. And we just started talking about music. So Rich, I would say Rich and Lauren were the first guys I met that solely supported their families off of music. Right. What I mean by that, like they had placements. They sold records. They were the first industry guys that I met that I had a chance to really build with. And what I seen from them was like they work like it, meaning like they were like let me tell you something about this music industry. I know we've been on for a second, you know what I'm saying? But you got to be a real nerd at this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like most people think you got to be cool and shit. Like, nah, the guys that really get to the bag are the nerds. They're the ones that know that they know their gear. They kind of, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you got to be a music history buff, but they know their points of reference is really outstanding. They
have breadth of knowledge of different genres of music as opposed to just a narrow focus on one genre. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like best believe Metro Boomin, you know what I'm saying? There's a side of him that understands the music industry. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it's the business of music. So that's one thing I learned. That's one thing I learned from them first. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to them. They gave Aaron and I our first placement with Maya. You know what I'm saying? So all right. So back to real quick, back to the music industry part. So I'm in DC. I have this epiphany about I got to start being very resourceful to doing stuff. I'm going back and forth to Atlanta. I'm trying to make connections. So my homeboy at the time called me up and was like, "Yo, Mike, I don't know if I told you about this, Malachi, about the BlackBerry." My homeboy called me up and says, "Yo, Mike, I got this BlackBerry. My homegirl used to work for Kevin Lyles. She gave him his old phone that has all his contact information in it."
Oh yeah, you did. I remember this.
Yeah, right. So I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? So I get this BlackBerry. And it has. Let me tell you something. If God had a phone number, it was in that. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I was like, oh, I got this Rolodex index, but I just can't cold. I said to myself, I can't cold call people. Why? You know what I'm saying? How's it gonna work? But fuck it, I did it anyway. So, and also again, so my off and on girlfriend at the time, I was like, yo, I got this BlackBerry. She was like, which again, she was smart again. She's like, what should I do with it? She was like, Mike, call Kevin Lyles up, tell him you found a BlackBerry, you want to return it. You know what I'm saying? After you copy the BlackBerry, right? So I was like, that ain't gonna work. So one day I did it. He called me back. He was like, yo, bring the BlackBerry up and you can take a meeting. I'm like, oh shit. So at the time I got scared. I didn't do it, but I was like, oh, this shit kind of worked, right? So
this was pre 300, right? He was still at Def Jam at the time.
Yeah, he was. Yes, he was. I think so. Yeah.
Well, anybody that doesn't know who Kevin Lyles is, he was at Def Jam for a long time, and he's one of the.
Yeah, he was definitely at Def Jam because the Def Jam office called me about setting up a meeting.
Or he's right? I guess at a time too when between that and 300, but yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't he was still. But I didn't really on some real shit. I didn't really know who he was. I just knew he was a big music person at the time, and that was my mistake. So at the time, I'm like, all right, I got to start understanding what's going on. So I at this time I figured out that production was as a producer, I'm a dime a dozen. I need songs. I need to get with songwriters, right? So for whatever reason, kind of even though I was dating a songwriter at the time, I didn't have a lot of songs with her. You know what I'm saying? It just happens to be that way, right? So we broke up. I started doing my own thing. I'm in law. I'm working. I started auditioning songwriters. So I remember I went to this ASCAP thing, and it was this website called pmp.com, right? Which was like this site that you for producers you can submit beats to A&Rs and stuff. It's basically a money racket. I'm gonna tell people right now, like, you know what I'm saying? In the music industry, there's a whole lot of money licks that people try to do. They try to make you play for talent shows and things.
Try to sell you access that they probably don't even really have in the first place.
Exactly, right.
Rich, I'm guessing he's talking about One Up. Rich was on the live for a minute here. Not sure if he's still on here or not, but
oh, nice.
He sent him a link. I actually never met Rich, but I knew who they were because of the whole Kalina situation.
Oh yeah, nah, man. So, yeah, they great people, man. So basically, I knew I needed to get to some songwriters, so I started doing all type of research on different songwriters, who was writing this, who was writing that, and at the time, what PNP, the website, was good for doing was articles. You know what I'm saying? Because there wasn't a lot of literature out there on the behind the scenes stuff. Two magazines. Well, the PNP had good articles, and actually Scratch magazine was pretty good for behind the scenes stuff too, right? So there was a woman on there named Philan Knight. You know what I'm saying? Philan used to work for this company with Elliot Reed called Hitco, and another publishing company I can't remember, but at the time she was managing this writing group called The Clutch, right? And the Clutch wrote all these big records. It was in the R&B realm. It was Kerry Hilson, JQ, who else? Zeke, who is now the I think president of A&R over at Epic. It was a bunch of young writers, and Philan had access to all of them. So I was like, all right, I gotta meet Philan Knight. I'm a producer. She can get my stuff to the writers, right? So right. I didn't know how to meet Philan Knight. So I remember I went to this ASCAP event and she was there. I didn't speak to her, but I knew she was there, right? But I also knew that her name was also in Kevin Lyle's phone, right? So I called. I cold called her and was like, "Hey, Flan, I met you at the at the ASCAP thing. You told me to give you a call." So you got to remember, these people meet so many people, they don't know.
There are people at every conference. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Conference is one of the also. I'm not saying one of the worst things to go to, but people try to network with the wrong people. If you go to a conference, network with the people in the conference. Don't try. I mean, if you can get access to the panelists, it's cool. But everybody's gonna try to get access to the panelists. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, conferences are tough. I've always found that I always end up like I do the same thing that you're doing. Like I don't really try to get to the panelists. Sometimes I do. Like if I know like GoldLink's manager, but that was because I already knew what he was doing and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of times, some of these conferences will just be like people that aren't even really doing shit. But sometimes you meet really great people, so it's worth it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely, it's worth it. And you just gotta know how to maneuver, right? Yep. So
right, we're going to the conferences together from now on since we're out here. So you can, because you probably know how to maneuver them better than I do.
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely. Complex Con. What's the other one? I don't know.
We live literally the convention center for Complex Con is literally right behind where I live. Literally.
Yeah. I've been there once. That's crazy. Yeah. Oh yeah, you live far then. You know what I'm saying? From where I'm at.
Yeah. Nah, we're in Long Beach. Yeah, we're in Long Beach.
Yeah. Long Beach is dope, man.
Yeah. We literally live across the street from that joint. Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah, I've been there. I went there 2 years ago. The artist I worked with was performing there. What was I saying? Oh, so basically, I called Flan up, and she's like, she don't remember me, but she's talking to me. You know what I'm saying? And she's like, I'm as a producer. I'm like, look, I'm looking for management. I'm trying to sell myself. She's like, yo, I don't really deal with producers, right? I was like, all right, I understand. She's like, I'm really into songwriters. I'm really into songwriting. I'm like, okay, I got you. So remember the key, she said she's into songwriters, right? So I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. Well, listen, if I ever have some, is it all right if I call you if I have any questions? She was like, cool, yeah, you give me a call. So I hang up the phone. I'm like, all right, I gotta find some songwriters, right? So Erin brought this young lady through our studio one time, and her first song was better than her last song. No, her first song was better than most people that have been writing for like 10 years. If right. Yeah. So what I did, I said to her, I'm like, yo, listen, you can record in my studio for free. You know what I'm saying? You don't even have to write to my stuff. I just want you to record as much as possible and get good as possible. Because I already knew in my brain, if I develop her as a songwriter and can get her some light, it's gonna help get everybody some light, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So let me take my own shit out of it, and I don't care what you record to as many stuff as possible. Matter of fact, I had a bunch of tracks from Rich in them, which I already knew they were already getting looks. So I wouldn't need you to write to their stuff even before my stuff. You know what I'm saying? And my stuff will fit in. So we just went ham, man. We just started doing records on records. And I knew the second I get like 3 or 4 records, I was gonna make a phone call to Filet and Night. You know what I'm saying?
Question. Mm-hmm. How many records do you think you did? Because this is an important point too. Mm-hmm. How many records do you think you did? First of all, we've already established this girl's a great writer. You're already sort of a fairly established producer, or you're at least getting there. In order to get to those 3 or 4 records that you were comfortable submitting to Ms. Knight, how many records did you record roughly?
Maybe about 25. Right.
So that's an important thing. You did 25 records so that you could feel confident about 3 to 4 of them.
Right. 3 to 4 of them. Yep.
Right. That's something that I don't think a lot of people understand. You got to make a ton of shit.
You got to make the bad ones to get to the good ones.
A ton of content. And people think they could just record like 3 or 4 songs and I'm going to put this shit out and it's going to be great. You know? A lot. So, okay.
Not at all. And plus, you got to also remember what Gogo taught me was competition, right? Yeah. And a competition at the highest level. Like at some point, if my competition was and PCY was Mo's first band. But then once I got in Mo's first band, we got better. My competition was Occupation, which was great. Then after Occupation, I started looking at Northeast and back, like you know what I'm saying? Like nah, nigga, we coming from everybody. You know what I'm saying? Right, the same thing. It's the same thing in the music industry. So most people, I always approach it with my competition is not Little Joy making beats across the street. My competition was the B Coxes, the Polo the Dons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was like it has to compete. You feel what I'm saying? Because you gotta understand when a looking list comes out and they say Rihanna's looking for records. You know what I'm saying? And I got a plug to get Rihanna a record. She's also getting records from The Dream, Tricky, anybody, the best of the best. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. Like to show you, like I'm not even toot my own horn, but I was at a writers camp a few months back, right? And it was for Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? And I'm there, and they're like, yo, let's get so and so. Let's get man, what's Kanye West, man? I can't remember his name right now. But anyway, it was a bunch of big producers at the disposal, just like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's who you going against. You know what I'm saying? Mike Dean. You know what I'm saying?
For people that don't know, what is a writer's camp?
So a writer camp is this. A writer's camp is when they take a whole bunch of producers and writers, right? They block out a studio, and you go there and you just write and produce mad songs for that artist. You know what I'm saying? And what the artists do, they might lead the camp with like 120 songs, and what the artists, big artists are going to do, they're gonna have their team in the A&R go through all the songs and pick the best songs and try to make a project to pitch for her to see if they want to cut. Now the artist might take a song from here, or might take a piece from here, a piece from there, and merge that shit together. But it can get real crazy with the publishing. If y'all know publishing.
And from a logistical standpoint, do the writers and producers get paid for writers' camps?
No. You get paid. You really eat what you kill. You know what I'm saying?
We were talking about before we got on. Yeah. Yeah. You don't get paid unless your shit gets placed.
Yeah, exactly. And you still might not get paid what you think you're gonna get paid. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now it's funny because if you a real established songwriter and producer, you don't even want to do a writer's camp.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like busy work. Because most of the time there're gonna be so many songs. It's like usually writer camps are at the beginning of the project, and what happens is they're gonna use songs they get from that campus is what's gonna be what they start playing to go around. Yo, we need something that can beat this. You know what I'm saying? So you as a producer, you want to get your, and it's a pleasure to be there, but you want to build your relationships up to the point where you can just go past all that shit. I don't even get. I just.
Diane Warrens of the world or whatever.
Diane Warren, right.
Calling you as opposed to you calling them. Yeah, gotcha.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a process. Not saying you can't get on, because I know one of my close friends actually he went to the camp and killed it, and he's 3-4 joints in. You know what I'm saying? But it's just but the writer that he works with and the way that he got in, they built the sound of the camp around a sound that he made, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's different. But yeah, that being said, with Philan, I had to get a songwriter. And then when I called up Philan again, I sent her the songs I did with the songwriter. And she called me back and was like, I want to meet your songwriter. You know what I'm saying? It just so happened though, who's saying the track number to something? Oh, that's my track. Oh shit, you dope. So as far as order for me to get a listen, I needed to give her what she wanted to listen to what we did.
Exactly. Providing value to the other person for what the value is that they need, is instead of expecting them to bend over backwards to help you. Perfect example.
Absolutely. So from then on, so I made sure that my songwriter fostered a relationship with her, and me and Aaron continued to do our thing on the other end. You know what I'm saying? So we do it. So So while she's fostering a relationship, I'm also building my own relationships down in Atlanta. I ended up working with another songwriter signed to Young Money. Ended up getting a lawsuit for a record called Bedrock. I'm going real fast, you know what I'm saying? In that lawsuit, granted, it's a weird story. Long story short, I sent some records. I sent some music out. Young Money did a record that sounded like something I did. And I remember Aaron and I was like, "Yo, we should look into this. We should look into this, right?" So I'm very passive aggressive. I'm like, "Listen, man, it's a chord progression. There's only so many chord progressions, but let's look into this." So I got this thing where I remember I met this guy in Atlanta. He used to work for ASCAP. He was the director of ASCAP, and great guy. But you got to understand the music industry, people got ratios. So I always say he was like a 2 for 10. For every 10 times I call him, I might get him on the phone 2 times. Right. And another thing with the music industry, you can't take nothing personal. You know what I'm saying? It's just like either he's busy or I just don't have nothing for him right now. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, I did. You know what I'm saying? I called him up. This was one of the 2 times he picked up. I sent him. I was like, "Yo, I did this record. I think that might be in question for copyright infringement." He was like, "Yo, me whatever, man. Send me the record." Sent him the record. He called me right back. He was like, "Yo, I think we may got something." You know what I'm saying? And he never called me back. You know what I'm saying? But he called me right back this time. So we moved forward. Ended up getting a lawyer and do this. Where I was able to parlay that situation to getting a publishing deal. You know what I'm saying? For Aaron and I. You know what I'm saying? For y'all don't know what a publishing deal is. A publishing deal is basically like it's equivalent to getting signed to a major label, but on the writers and producer side. So basically, what they do is your publishing is your real estate. A company comes to you and say, "Yo, we're going to advance you some monies towards your publishing, and in turn, we'll own 50% of your publishing, but we'll advance you $50,000, and we'll help you exploit your music." So we did a deal with Rondor at the time, who was a subsidiary through UMPG, and we started.
So real quick, so UMPG, because you mentioned them twice. So UMPG is Universal Music Publishing Group.
Yeah.
But there was a term that you just used that exploit, because I think a lot of people, in non-music industry terms, exploit has a negative connotation. In the music industry, exploit is a good thing. You want to do
You want to. You're right. You want to. If y'all sign a deal with anybody, you want somebody to exploit the fuck out your music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
They're going to get it in places where it's going to make money for you.
Exactly. Now,
records or anywhere that it's going to generate income for you. So exploit in this context is a good thing, not like the other.
Yes. Yeah. Because the Universal is they're the biggest publishing company. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They own everything. So now here's the problem, which it took me a while to figure out. Just because you signed don't mean they're going to exploit it. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to understand, most of these people are very reactive, but they're not proactive. You feel what I'm saying? So just because you got to get your own shit going. Simple as that. They're not going to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Nothing. You do a few meetings in a pretty building. You play a few records. You know what I'm saying? But they, UMPG has all the big artists. You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm with UMPG and UMPG has Cardi B, don't mean my track's gonna go to Cardi B.
Well, that's the same thing. That's the same thing with everything too. I mean, slightly different than what you're saying, but even with me as a booking agency, and it's even more. It seems counterintuitive, but it's even more prevalent with a smaller booking agency like me. I have to focus on the bigger artists that I have, the bigger clients that I have, the ones that make the most money, because I need them to keep the lights on. And even though it's not that I don't want to take my time to book the smaller acts, and it's not personal, and it's not that I'm or not trying to do anything for them, but in order for me to even be able to do anything for you, I have to keep the lights on. And then, so in order to do that, I have to focus on the big guys first. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's the same thing with a record label and or a publishing company. You got to focus on the ones, 80-20. It's the 80-20 rule. 80% of any company's income comes from 20% of their products. In this case, being roster. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and that goes back to what you said earlier about not taking anything personally. It's not that these guys are just like, fuck you, we don't feel like working on Mike's shit today, but they got to work on what's bringing in the revenue. And so then it's your job, or the artist's job to put themselves in a position to be the ones that are bringing in the revenue.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And you got to work, and you have to work like that. You got to understand that. And it took me a while to understand it because I had a little money in my pocket at this point. I thought we were just gonna get placements for whatever. But once you get in the music industry, you even see it's even more predicated on relationships. Like you gotta know who manager is this. Do I got a relationship with this? Do I got a relationship with all the DSPs? Even nowadays, do I have a relationship with the curator at Spotify? Do I have a relationship with the person still at the radio station? Do I have so the people in the music industry are still they trying to figure out how to make this shit go. You know what I'm saying? It's just they got a bank account and they can afford to mess up more than you can. You know what I'm saying? Yep. All right. So that being said, we get a publishing deal. I'm making sure my writer is building relationships, and by the grace of God, it's funny. The guy at ASCAP ended up being our manager, and he ended up knowing Falaine. You know what I'm saying? So Falaine at the time was managing another songwriter named Harold Lilly. You know what I'm saying? So Falaine was like, why don't y'all go down up to Atlanta and meet Harold? So for y'all to know who Harold is, that's my partner. That's who I work with now. And again, like these are relationships. If this started in 08, 07, these are relationships that I've been building all the way to 2020, if that makes sense, that paid dividends. So Harold at the time, he's a prolific songwriter. He wrote everything from Luther Vandross to You Don't Know My Name to Beyonce Ego to Angie Stone brother to shit for Brandon. He wrote for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So Falaine like our stuff so much. I want y'all all to meet. So we go down to Atlanta. We meet up. We click up. We start a collective down in Atlanta, and we go to work. So I'm in Atlanta now. Aaron and I we're getting our industry sound up. We're starting to know what competes. You know what I'm saying? Because like one thing is the thing about being in DC, you learn the music scene, but you really don't know what competes. You don't know what a good song really is. Like you don't know song structure. You don't know like, oh, this is my B section. Oh, this chorus does this. Oh, the verse needs to do this. We just know parts. We know how to crank. We know how to groove. But composing, like I'm a record producer. One thing I pride myself on is like I know how to make a record. You know what I'm saying? And it took me a lot of years to really figure that out. So I'm in Atlanta. I'm getting placements on a lot of what's good for Atlanta. There's a lot of underground artists. We're getting placements and we're cutting references records with the artists. Because this is around when the music industry started changing to where it used to be your songwriter or your demo singer cuts the record. You send that record off, maybe like to Usher. Usher cuts the record, and if Usher cuts the record, that record's gone. He placed it, right? Nowadays, but this is back when the time where music was becoming more disposable. Labels didn't want to pay for that. So Usher would cut the record, they would hold it, and he might not use the record. If that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So it just made a whole another level. So we were getting, so Aaron and I were working with a lot of artists. Like we got records with this group called One Chance at the time that was signed to T-Pain. So we got records with them and T-Pain. I'm working with Young Money artists, Big Crit. I'm working with all these artists coming up, but nothing's coming out. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm getting a lot of studio experience. I'm watching my peers. I'm watching some of my peers around me get their chance, you know what I'm saying? I remember Esther Dean before she was Esther Dean. And I don't know if y'all know who Esther Dean was, but she did a lot of shit. Sean Gary, like I'm around. I'm in the Atlanta scene, right? And I just started producing better and better records that kept allowing me more and more opportunities. To where working with Harold, he was like, he was like, yo, come out to LA one day. And that took me a bunch of years to come out to LA. It took a whole bunch of life and a whole bunch of shit to happen. But one day I was like, you know what? Let me come out to LA. You know what I'm saying? And I'm kind of fast forwarding it, but I made money in Atlanta. It showed me that I could make money doing music. You know what I'm saying? but I know I was getting too comfortable, so I had to change my environment up. Oh, by the way, the songwriter that we developed, she ended up getting a publishing deal with Ronnie Jerkins. You know what I'm saying? Another songwriter we were developing. So how much talent that Maryland has is B. Borelli. You know what I'm saying? She used to come by our studio all the time in Maryland.
Yeah, she still works out of Maryland. I know she works out of Right Way sometimes, the studio that I use to produce all the Mama Sauce stuff.
Oh, nice. I know she was out here for a second. That's crazy.
Yeah. Aaron said Walt showed us how to make a record with T-Mel.
T-Mel, yep. Yeah, T-Mel Rollins. So T-Mel was signed to Red Zone. Red Zone was with Dream and Tricky, and I remember one of the first studios we had a chance to was working in Atlanta at that's a whole other. You gotta bring it back on that joint. That's a whole other story. It was getting down that joint and Carter breaking out, but we had the whole Red Zone studio to ourselves. And we cut like 6 or 7 records on T-Mel. That kind of also helped us put us in more rooms. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. Developing songwriters and just servicing other people kind of helped me push forward to now working with Motown artists and this artist named Lakaylee 47 signed to RCA. You know what I'm saying? She's just a rapper with a mask on and shit. You know what I'm saying? And
so dope. Like I really hope they push
Queen
because she is so fucking raw. Like I listen to her shit all the time. I didn't even know who she was before you told me about her. And
I didn't know either.
that shit is dope. So how much of I saw an article that said that you're like her main producing partner. So how much what is your working relationship together? How does it work? How do you
it's super organic. It happens in each song is different. Like sometimes I might start a record, sometimes she might start a record. She's just as much as a producer as I am. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So we just she will just sometimes I might just come with the drum beat. Sometimes she might just do something with her mouth. You know what I'm saying? But she's super, super musical, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And she knows how to make great songs with less. She's great with negative space. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's just my job just to not overcrowd that space. You know what I'm saying? Like
I want to get reeled in the weeds for a second, just for my own selfish reasons. So, because I know that what's the other artist that you work with most? James?
James Davis. They were on Motown, yeah.
Motown. So that's far more musical, R&B, neo soul.
R&B, yeah.
Where Lakaylee is, although there's a sprinkle of it here and there, it's very hip hop, very
sparse hip hop, four to the floor. Sometimes four to the floor. It's a microcosm of everything. You know what I'm saying? Because like as well as she can rap and write, she could sing her face off too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's times where we really have to go in and in it. You know what I'm saying? And like sometimes you just get lucky too. Like what's the other guy we work with? Like BJ Chicago Kid. We did a record on his first project, In My Mind. That was done in a hotel room. You know what I'm saying? With a little mini keyboard, and my homeboy just sang a melody. You know what I'm saying? And again, like that's what I'm saying. When I got that placement, he was 80 songs in. You know what I'm saying? So that record made it to 1 in the 80. You know what I'm saying? So
that's what's up. Yeah, I just talked to. Do you know Cornelio? His
yeah.
Because he's down here in Long Beach too. I just talked to him.
Oh, nice. Yeah. He's the dude he helped me get my money.
That's what's up. Yeah, he's a good dude, man. I really like that guy. He's I just met him. We both worked out of the same co-working space in Hollywood. And he's not there anymore. He's at a different one. But yeah, I just saw he had CDs sitting in front of him at the thing, and I was like, "Oh, you into music?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then we just started talking, and we've been cool ever since. So I just talked to him the other day, literally about the same go-go shit that I just talked to you about before this, and he's like, "Man, let's figure this out and figure this out and figure that out." So yeah, dude. So
yes, my guy, yeah, man. It's funny because like again, going back to Gogo, everything the way I move, I really learned. I learned this shit through Gogo. Even when I'm in the studio now, everybody know Mike on that Gogo shit. I still go in there, crank that shit. When I make beats, I still try to capture that energy that came from the Gogo scene. It's kind of a disease, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, that ain't nothing but a Gogo beat, man. All they doing, you know what I'm saying? Like when we be dissecting records, you know what I'm saying? This is one crazy song I did with 47. I don't know when it's gonna come out, but I did like a Gogo bounce beat. The shit's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's crazy because I was about to say, like, based upon what we were talking about earlier, I'm like, yo, let's get a fucking bounce beat record on 47. But I guess you
no. It's going to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's going to happen. It's
She's
just like
the perfect person to do it with. Like, I watched an interview with her where she's talking about fucking Beach Boys' Pet Sounds as her favorite. I'm like, okay, she's definitely like wide open. Like, I feel like she, you know, if she understood the culture or whatever, like she would love it. I'm like, yeah, we got
she definitely does because you know, she did some time in VA too. You know what I'm saying? So one of our favorite songs we always sing is like, you know, we go to Popeyes, we always sing Popeyes chicken.
Biscuit with the belly in the middle.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So she definitely hip. A matter of fact, I think she did a Gogo version of No Diggity. Well, to the best of their ability, she went over to Australia and did on something called it's like a versus. So you can just type in Lakeli 47 on YouTube, and she did like we influenced her to do the kind of like a Gogo version of No Diggity. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I need to see that. I didn't even see it. I've been digging into all of her stuff too.
Yeah. It's on something called Like a Version. You know what I'm saying? Basically, yeah, Like a Version. It's like this Australian show where you go on there and they make artists do different versions of some covers. Like Childish Gambino did. He went on there and sang what's that girl? He sang this girl song. I can't remember Tamil or some shit like that. I don't know, some girl song. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I will look it up. You know what I mean? But hold on, let me see. I'm gonna do something different.
Like I think Jimmy Fallon or somebody does something similar to that too. Like where he has you sing a different song, like in a totally different style of what it really is or something.
Mm-hmm. Like hold on, let me see. So y'all.
Well, funny enough, I don't know if you remember, but Occupation used to crank the shit out of No Diggity back in the day.
That's
one of the best. I think it's Mike Arnold's birthday CD, which I believe is 11/22/96 from En Vogue. We came out with it, which is funny because somebody just asked me on Facebook earlier to give them my favorite Northeast CDs that I was on. And I don't even remember any of those dates, but I remember the fucking Occupation ones. Which
you know what? Because I understand those mean. I mean, it's something weird happened. Like I don't know about you, but when I started playing with bigger bands, it was just as fun. But the beginning ones are the ones that kind of stuck with you more. You know what I'm saying?
When I played with Northeast Groovers and when I was filling in with Backyard for a while and the What Band. It's because we were playing so much, because we were big bands and we played 3-4 nights a week, it just sort of started to feel like a job to me. You know what I mean? When it was Occupation, it was like, you know, it was like a big deal. And everybody that I knew, and I guess that was the other thing too, like I wasn't really a DC dude, so I don't really know a whole lot of the people that came to see Northeast Groovers. It would be the same people every week, but it would be like 400 people and I would probably know like 20 of them. But when Occupation played, I knew every single person in the club. So it would be like more of an event, more like a, you know.
I said it was a family reunion all the time. You know?
Exactly. Like everybody that went to high school with and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, so what's coming up? What are you working on? What should we be looking at?
We just finished 47's third album. That should be out. The COVID, it was supposed to come out in June, but the COVID thing kind of pushed everything back. Let's see here. Working with James Davis again. We got this young boy named Clyde Cravera. He's super dope. I think I'm gonna put in universe. We're working something out with Universal Republic. And just getting placements, man. You know what I'm saying? Saying shit. It's a very blue collar. I live a very blue collar lifestyle. I get up, I go to the studio every day. I work on music. Nowadays when people hear records, when they hear demos, they want the demos to sound like a record. You know what I'm saying? So I do the same shit every day. I chop wood, carry water. You know what I mean? That's pretty much it.
That's a Zen saying. That is, what is that from? It's like a Buddhist thing. Chop wood, carry water. It just means basically like just put in the work, and that's really what you just said was one of the questions I was going to ask you. I didn't even have to ask you. Is like, what is your day to day? And I think people have this misconception that like, with the exception of today, because you did tell me you slept in today, but people have this misconception that like, people in the music industry are just like, we just wake up whenever we feel like it and we just fuck around, play video games, and we might go in the studio and but they're gonna smoke weed the whole time and drink, and they just think it's just fabulous lifestyle. But you as a producer with a major publishing deal, producing for artists on a major label, you get up every day, the studio, and you work. And
Yep. Man, listen, man, like people, like I'm saying, there's a lot of misinformation out there. I'm not saying people don't drink or don't smoke weed in the studio, but that's not a recipe to garner success. Like you would think I was in the studio with I had a session with I was in with what's that guy name? Little John. You know what I'm saying? You would have thought there was been weed and shit everywhere. It was just him in some instance. you know what I'm saying? Like he don't drink or smoke when he's working. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you gotta understand, like, this is like people like, all right, I'm fortunate enough. It's funny because it's like I'm learning doing this music industry stuff. This whole thing from the go-go to here, I equate it to breathing in high altitude. So I learned to breathe in high altitude. My anxiety is off the chain right now, but I'm so used to it, right? That being said, I'm afforded a lot of opportunity that most people ain't. Like it's nothing for me to go to. Like you've been to my studio. It's not a major studio. You know what I'm saying? It's a room, but that studio, we got 4 rooms now. That's $10,000 a month. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm at. So what I'm trying to say is though, if people really know how much this shit really costs, like if I was to get a room at Westlake, you know what I'm saying, or Record Plant, we're talking about $900 a day, $800 a day. You feel what I'm saying? Who gonna spend $800 a day? You know what I'm saying, for you to come in there and smoke weed and leave with half a song done? You feel what I'm saying? Like people don't know that how much of a business this is. You feel what I'm saying? So now, man, shit. I woke up late today, but I was in the studio from 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, I work every day. I'm gonna go to the studio once we get off this phone call, and probably won't be back till around 5 or 6 this morning. You know what I'm saying? Because I got a late start, and I'm gonna do a lot of music that's probably not gonna get heard. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna do 100 to get to 1. You feel what I'm saying? So. That's real shit, and that's exactly why I wanted to have you on, and exactly why I started this series, because there's so much misinformation in the go-go community about how the greater music industry works, and there's a whole lot of complaining from go-go about why we're not seen in the same light as artists in other genres, and a lot of it is that. A lot of it is work ethic. A lot of it is just understanding that it's about relationships, and everybody in DC, not everybody in DC, a lot of people in DC in the go-go scene just feel like somebody owes you something. I can crank, my band can crank. You should pay me $20,000 to come fly out to Los Angeles and play because we crank in DC. But that doesn't mean shit in LA. So you know what I mean? You can't sell a fucking ticket in LA. Yeah. So I really appreciate your time, and you know what I'm saying, especially
knowing that we're taking creative time from you, and you gotta get to work. But I really appreciate it. We're gonna check out for LaKaylee's third album. James Davis, they got anything coming out, or is it James?
You know what you can check out? You can check out my homegirl. She's actually from Laurel, and I did a track. We did the opening song on. Her name is Yvonne Orgy. She plays Molly. She plays Molly on on Insecure, right? So we did the opening record for her stand-up act on HBO, which is called Mama I Made It.
We were just talking about watching that the other night. Now I'm glad we waited because now we're gonna know. So you got the opening track on that drum?
I did the opening track and I did a little bit of go-go shit. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
Yeah, you can check that out, man.
What's up with Go-Go and the Comedians? Tiffany Haddish did her little Go-Go song.
Yeah, Rich Harrison.
Yep.
So, but for Yvonne, it's more organic because she grew up in Laurel. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I didn't know it either until it just happened to come across my table. Yeah, so check that out. It's pretty dope.
So was Rich involved in this one too, or no?
No. They found me. Yeah, man. Listen, man. I wanna help. Malachi, I think what you're doing is great, man. I wanna help. I think Gogo has a shot if it's done right. You know what I'm saying? I when I get back to Maryland, I want to reach out and figure out how to do some records. You know what I'm saying? Like records, like even use my resources. I'll get Harold or some of my folks to write some records.
We're gonna figure that out before you get back to Maryland because we're gonna rap. I already got some in motion, and I already wanted you to be the part of it. I just wanted to have something tangible before I even hit you up. You know what I'm saying?
No. Oh, you know what? I also want to maybe when this whole COVID thing is over, I don't know when it's gonna be over, man. I want to do a DC takeover of LA. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We were talking about that. We're gonna, absolutely. We got his folks out here. We got folks out here. DJ Adam here. He was he's in DC now, but he lives out here now. He was on the show last week. Yeah, we got some folks out here. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, man. So whatever you need, man, I got you.
That's what's up, man. Cool. We'll talk soon. I appreciate you, bro. Thanks so much for coming on.
Man. Yeah, thanks for watching, man. I appreciate y'all too.
Yeah, Gabe said almost 30 years of friendship and family. Super proud of you, man. And
amen. Yeah, it's my brother, man. I love him, guys, man.
How does they say ego? I don't know, or ego or something. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But Tashawn Suma, I'm not sure who that is. Maybe you know.
That's Mo's son.
That's who?
That's Mo's son. My nephew, Mo.
For real?
Mo's son.
He said Clyde is dope. dope.
Yeah.
My man Brooks that's out here too. He's the guitar player too. He plays for Reaction, and he's involved in that project I was just telling you about.
Oh, he out here in LA?
Yeah, Bakersfield. Yeah, but yeah,
nice.
So he's close. He said take over. He's down with it. And Mo said DYB. Y'all still weren't better than Occupation, bro. All right, man. I appreciate you, Mike. Thanks everybody for tuning in, man. It was like a family reunion. I appreciate it, man. That was dope. I'll talk to you guys.
Yeah, anytime, brother.
I gotta help Mike Arnold with some BMI shit right now, so let me get off here.
All right. Tell her holler at me, yo. Tell her send me some joints. All right.
That's what's up. All right, man. I'll talk to you. Thanks, bro. All right.